you can again see how the Wayyiqtol that we've kind of focused on today creates the backbone of the narrative here. Vayyiqchu, okay. It helps also, as we said, to divide the sentences. Vayyitnu, Vayyasimu, Vayyaqrivu, Vatetse, Vatochal, Vayyamutu. So if we just read these verbs, we kind of get an excerpt. We get a summary of what happened. They took, they put, they laid, they offered, and the fire came out, consumed, and they died. So obviously, it's not the whole story, but it's certainly the backbone of the story, and it's certainly comprised of that vav patach dagesh, 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 and vav patach dagesh in the prefix letter. Do you see how recognizing the Wayyiqtol gives you like the backbone of the story? Creates the narrative sequence. Okay? Are you with me? Very good. Okay, so Vayyasimu, we had Yasim versus Yasim. We've mentioned that earlier with Aaronite blessing. Okay, Vayyitnu, the root is Nun Tav Nun. Again, the root for giving, Netanel, my own name. Yes, Nate, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I don't want to get off track, but I'm just interested in this appearance of fire. And I know there's at least one very well-known example in Latin literature when Ascanius, the son of Aeneas, had some fire around his head, and showing that there's approval from the gods of what Aeneas is supposed to do. Is this frequent in the Old Testament? I know we've seen two examples of this spontaneous appearance of fire.
Definitely. Theophany is very much associated with fire, not just in the, as you've mentioned, also in Greek sources, but certainly in the Hebrew Bible, you can see how theophany is accompanied by fire. You can see that on Mount Sinai. You can see that in theophonic description all throughout the Hebrew Bible. Look at Habakkuk and Amos, wherever God comes with fire, with earthquakes, with thunders, all of what you would expect. I would say that alongside that, you have a breaking of the pattern. For instance, with a very, very famous Elijah on Mount Horeb. Eliyahu is coming to Mount Horeb, and all of these fire and thunder and whirlwind, all of the immediate suspects letting you know that God is coming are there, and it is said, no, God is not in the fire, God is not in the earthquake, God is not in the whirlwind, but in the still voice of Demama Daka. So you have that theme of the immediate suspects that accompany God's presence, divine presence, but you also have a saying that says, things are not always as you would have expected. Exactly as you have the book of Proverbs that tells you be good and good things would happen to you, and you have the book of Job that says you can be as good as you think you can be, and things might be different. So yes, the general answer as a good Jew, yes and no. Yes, you have that divine presence associated with fire and with earthquake and with whirlwind, and yes, you have things that break that pattern as well. Okay, because if we don't have patterns, we don't have anything to break. Right, so it's important to have patterns. I don't know if I've helped you or I've hindered your, yeah, but you brought an interesting question and I kind of flew, kept with the flow. So that's the fire here, which God had not commanded them. Asher lo tziwa otam. Okay, this is modifying esh zara. So we have a noun here. Interestingly, the noun esh, which is feminine, modified by the attributive zara, esh zara, and also modified by the relative clause, asher lo tziwa otam. So we have kind of a negative relative clause expressing this restrictive nature, okay, which he had not commanded them to bring, going back to the fact that they offered. Okay? So a fire came from before the Lord. Note that we have from before the Lord and not from the Lord. This is common. Okay? Using the preposition, okay, being before in the sense of from God. Vayyamutu lifnei Adonai. So the punishing fire, they brought fire that they should not have brought. So a fire from the Lord came and punished them. You can see that the punishing God is arriving from God. Why? Because they wanted to help God, right? They brought fire as if God needs their help. And this is why they were punished, because when you come that close, you have to be careful, okay? And this is maybe even allegorically or metaphorically always the question of how far do we have to help God help us, okay? Where is the border? Obviously, the border is different when you have the presence of God in the form of the ark or in the form of the tabernacle, or when you don't have them in our everyday life.